Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one and welcome to your annual War Thunder video. It is now the year 2047. Star Citizen just went into closed beta after finally passing its $500 billion stretch goal. The occasion was marked by the release of another 6 vessels which don't actually exist and probably won't for at least another 5 or 6 years, but you can at least buy the idea of owning them. Meanwhile, in World of Warships, Wargaming have finally given up on the idea of any kind of skill actually deciding the outcome of random battles, and instead the post-battle results will now be determined by who can open the most loot boxes on the battle opening screen. Meanwhile, in War Thunder, Gaijin are jumping on the Gun Maverick bandwagon because of course they are, which means that in the latest Danger Zone update, you can now own and fly the absolutely drop-dead gorgeous F-14A Tomcat. And flying it for us today, well, there's a whole bunch of people flying it for us today. I think there are more Tomcats than Phantoms in this battle, but flying it for us today is Nomadic Warrior. I'm reminded of the opening scene in the new Top Gun Maverick movie. The movie's fantastic, by the way. There's a bare minimum acceptable level of Hollywood bullshit. In all other respects, it's amazing. But I couldn't help but notice at the beginning, in the opening scene, when the iconic Top Gun music is playing, right before it segues into the Kenny Loggins Danger Zone theme, which wasn't actually written by Kenny Loggins, by the way. It was written by Giorgio Moroder with lyrics by Tom Whitlock, but Kenny Loggins recorded and performed it. Actually, Toto would... A bit of a trivia moment here. Even though Kenny Loggins is known for that Danger Zone music, he wasn't the first person asked to perform it. First they asked Toto, and for one reason or another they said no. Then they asked Bryan Adams, and he said nope, because he felt that the movie glorified war. Also refused them permission to use his amazing Only the Strong Survive track, which was a real shame because that's another kicking tune. REO Speedwagon were then asked to perform the theme, but when they were told that no, they couldn't write their own stuff, they turned it down, and Kenny Loggins was actually the 4th choice. But here's the thing, at the precise moment in the movie when Kenny Loggins' Danger Zone music starts playing, the movie's music credits pop up, and it says music by Harold Faltermeyer, Lady Gaga, and Hans Zimmer. No mention of Kenny Loggins, despite the fact that they're playing his music at the moment when the music credits come up, which I just thought was kind of amusing. Now, I'm not entirely sure what's going on with the variable geometry wings here on Nomadic Warrior's Tomcat. That's a hell of a lot of wobble. I thought maybe this was just because it was at low altitude with much thicker air than at high altitude, but you know, this kind of is going to persist throughout the entire course of the battle. I do apologise if I've drawn your attention to it now and you cannot unsee it, but now you know how I feel. It's possible that this is just some kind of structural bug in the physical model of the Tomcat. This is a new update, it's only been out a few days. I think that's probably the most likely explanation. Now, I'm not entirely sure exactly what loadout Nomadic Warrior is running here. I think he's gone with a full Sidewinder build, which means he can carry, I think, 6 of them. Possibly more, I'm not entirely sure. The Tomcat can carry one hell of a weapons load. This aircraft was actually designed to carry and deliver the AIM-54 Phoenix, extremely long range, 100 nautical mile, active radar-guided air-to-air missile. At the kind of ranges that combat occurs in War Thunder, however, well, it's not completely useless because it is fire and forget, unlike the Sparrow, which has to be guided to the target by the launching aircraft. The Sidewinder, of course, is a very short-range, heat-seeking, fire and forget dogfighting missile, and I'm pretty sure they make up 100% of Nomadic Warrior's loadout. There we go, Fox 2, ooh, Fox 2 again. Both against the enemy F-14. The first one scores a hit, the second one finishes him off, although I think the second one was largely surplus to requirements. You don't usually survive a hit from a Sidewinder. Another enemy F-14 going against the F-4E down there, who's ditching flares and has managed to, I think, avoid the missile. And there's, well, it's not an immediate kill, but I'm pretty sure that Tomcat is not going to survive. And yep, he's down. Another heat seeker coming in from starboard. Again, that poor F4's managed to dodge it. Nomadic Warrior avoids some 20mm gunfire. That F4 has all of the aircraft on him. Somehow he's managed to stay alive. Nomad gets a spectacular close-range gun kill against another Tomcat. There's another F-14 coming in from ahead. Fox 2 again. These latest generation of Sidewinders can be fired from ahead. They don't require a rear aspect engine lock. He's managed to nail another Tomcat. There was a missile that looked like it was tracking him from the rear, but it's gone rogue. And hang on a minute. Okay, he just got 4 kills. But that friendly Su-22 back there, okay, he was his last surviving teammate. He's now already, we're what, 5 minutes into this battle? He is already the last surviving player on his team. Against 7 enemies, including 3 Tomcats, 2 F4 Phantoms, an F5, and a JA-37. What are the odds? Well, they're 7 to 1. So the JA-37 and one of the F-14s are chasing him down. Technically, he is inside heat-seeking missile range, but he's heading away from them at supersonic speeds. So that missile isn't going to catch anybody. It's just launched from too far away. Don't forget, the missile has to catch up. The JA-37 is breaking off, and so is the Tomcat. Well, Nomadic Warrior still has at least 1 missile left. And it's not as if he really has anything to lose at this point, so why the hell not? Now, they've seen him turn back in, and that's encouraged them to try their luck again. The Tomcat's coming in. Fox 2. Tomcat starts ditching flares. It's not going to do him any good. Meanwhile, the JA-37 comes in. He starts manoeuvring, ditching flares of his own. The JA-37, more commonly known as the Saab Viggen, by the way, a Swedish interceptor, overflies. He pulls around. He's going to have to go for the gun kill here. And, oh, the Viggen's made a mistake. He's trying to force Nomadic Warrior to overshoot, but at the top of the climb like that, he was slow, and he's managed to nail him with another gun kill. Nomadic Warrior, oh, actually, he seems to have 3 missiles left. Okay, the Viggen's just been scratched and he's on his way down. So that still leaves 5 enemies. However, if you have a look at the enemy team list, you can see that 2 of them are out of ammunition. Which means that's 3 enemies and he still has 3 missiles. However, the closest visible enemy, that F-14, is nearly 30 kilometers away. And he ain't getting any closer. And it doesn't actually take that long to travel 30 kilometers at these kind of speeds, so while theoretically he could maybe nail the other 3 enemies who still have ammunition while the other 2 are reloading and rearming, it's equally likely that the 2 who are probably landing to rearm could do it fast enough and get back into the fight in order to bounce him while he's engaging other aircraft. So since he's right next to his airfield anyway, he may as well land, repair and rearm himself, and also refuel, because he's basically been running on afterburners this entire time, so his fuel level is probably low too. Some fairly energetic maneuvers there in order to shed speed and come in for the landing, and he hasn't actually hit the landing strip, but hey, close enough for government work. I was talking earlier about the AIM-54 Phoenix, extremely long-range guided air-to-air missile that the Tomcat was basically built around. Despite that, the United States has never fired a Phoenix missile in anger, largely due to their rules of engagement, which often required visual identification of an enemy aircraft before they were allowed to engage, which made a missile with a range of 100 nautical miles completely surplus to requirements. But the missile has been used in 62 air-to-air strikes, all by the Republic of Iran. In fact, the Phoenix's only current operator is the Islamic Republic of Iran's Air Force. What? Since when does America supply weapons to Iran? Well, it doesn't now, but it used to. Prior to the 1979 Islamic Revolution, the Shah of Iran was a major customer of the US defense industry, and the Islamic Iranian Air Force still operates 41 Tomcats to this day. Of course, as soon as the USA stopped supplying them with missiles, they soon ran out, but they still continue to operate the Tomcat in an unusual role. Because the thing about having a missile system that can reach out and touch you from a range of 100 nautical miles is you need a very, very powerful radar in order to actually detect, acquire and lock onto the targets for initial guidance before you launch that missile. So the Tomcat had an extremely powerful radar and was actually used by the Iranian Air Force for quite some time as an airborne early warning aircraft. Of course, the USA doesn't use the Phoenix missile anymore for a couple of reasons. One, the Tomcat was the only aircraft they had that was capable of actually carrying it, and the USA doesn't operate Tomcats anymore. They've now been replaced by the F-18 Hornet, which is in itself in the process of being replaced by the latest 5th generation fighters and interceptors. So, first of all, they don't have an aircraft anymore that's capable of actually carrying a missile as huge as the Phoenix, and also they don't need the Phoenix anymore because the AIM-120 AMRAAM, or Advanced Medium Range Air-to-Air Missile, despite its name, certainly when it was first introduced, it didn't have the range of the Phoenix, but the latest versions of the AMRAAM do. And like the Phoenix, the AMRAAM is also a fire-and-forget missile. You get initial target lock with your onboard radar, but after that, once it's launched, it finds the target by itself. So the Phoenix is now completely surplus to requirements. I mean, the AMRAAM's just an all-round better missile. And the AMRAAM isn't in War Thunder, at least not yet. Oh, he's launching a Sidewinder. I didn't actually see what he was launching it at, but it turns out this is actually kind of sneaky. You don't require a lock. I mean, it's a lot safer to fire it with the target lock, but he's going to nail that F4 without actually getting towed. We'll talk about that more in a moment. First, head on past with this F5, Fox 2, another Sidewinder out, ditching flares, nailed the Tiger. Missiles coming in, he's going to crank it here. This is a fairly standard tactic for evading incoming missiles, particularly effective against missiles that are beam riders, that are guided by the launching aircraft, because if they can't keep you in their target aspect, then the missile loses lock. But it works against heat seekers as well, purely by opening up the target separation distance and forcing the missile to run out of fuel before it can catch up to you. Ditching flares helps as well. But yeah, that technically unguided launch that nailed that first F4, you can fire the Sidewinder, or some versions of the Sidewinder, before you get missile lock tone. Now this is dangerous, particularly if you're firing it into a dogfight, because it'll just lock onto the first heat source that it finds, but well, there are no more friendlies. He's the last surviving friendly aircraft, so he doesn't have to worry about his missiles accidentally picking up a friendly heat signature. So he spotted the F4 visually, and since it was heading straight towards him at high speed, he was able to launch the missile without a lock, well outside of its maximum effective range, and then the missile seeker head just picked up the first available target, which was the F4 charging towards him at full speed, which resulted in a very, very sneaky missile kill. Again, he's technically inside missile range of the Tomcat on his tail, but again, because he's heading away from him at supersonic speeds, any missiles launched will run out of fuel before they catch him. He's trying to sucker him into going for a missile launch. There it is. He's cranking it again. He's ditched the flares. Enemy Tomcat's going to do exactly the same thing. There go his flares. Nomadic Warrior waits until the flare pattern is gone before Fox 2. There go more flares. They have suckered the missile. He's going to close in and use the guns. There it is. Guns, guns, guns. Nope, missed. Following him around. Going low into a yo-yo. Enemy Tomcat's going high again. Oh, he's committed the same error as the Saab Viggen earlier. And there is another gun kill. Kill number 9. Can he get that 10th kill? He really wants that 10th kill. Oh, crap. Enemy F-14 bouncing in from short range. There goes the wreck of the Tomcat he just shot down. He's definitely inside Sidewinder range. Again, on full afterburners. More flares out. Again, he's trying to crank it and turn inside the enemy Tomcat. Ah, no, he just... Well, that was unlucky. 9 kills, though. He didn't quite get the 10th kill he was after. But, I mean, seriously? His entire team between them could only shoot 1 enemy aircraft down. Nomadic Warrior, you clearly weren't carrying hard enough. Well done, though. That was pretty spectacular. And I hope everybody enjoyed watching it, because that's it for this year's War Thunder video. I'll see you same time, same place next year. And in the meantime, take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time.